Today on How It's Made. Eggs. It's just one big shell game. Police badges. Authority on a pin. Plastic bottles and jars. Containment is the operative word. And pressure gauges. There's no pressure they can't measure. But first,
eggs. Commonly thought to be produced by hens, this practice in actual fact died out in the early 1900s when space for rearing chickens grew scarce and the methods posed too many health risks. Making the eggshell requires paper. Paper is fed into an encrypting machine where a highly skilled worker types a DNA enhancing code to help define and strengthen the eggshell. Once the encrypted paper is fully coded, it enters the shredding machine. Our X-ray penetration technology allows us to see the inner workings of this very special machine. As you can see, the complex interior mechanisms are powered by a wholly organic life form, which we call Amy. Goodbye, Amy. The shredded paper is then mixed with ready-made dough, which will make up the bulk of the shell. The worker comes to inspect the shell pulp. Tastes good. The pulp is then extruded and flattened using rollers. A die simultaneously molds and cuts the sheet into eggshell shapes. The worker transports the soft shells to the oven where they bake for 12 hours at 350 degrees centigrade. Once baked, they are left in a hardening room with motivational posters to help reinforce and strengthen the shells. After hardening, the shells pass over backlighting to check for crack and certain eggshells are selected for enlarging. The worker carefully places it on a conveyor belt, which takes it to the enlarger. Workers carefully help remove the shell from the machine. The worker dons his eagle eye glasses, which allow him to check for any visible or indeed invisible flaw. He also uses Hadrian's technique, tapping and listening to the reverberations with his stethoscopic probe. This inspector completes the all-round good eggshell checklist, giving the eggshell marks for its accomplishments and attributes on a scale of 0 to 5. The white part of the egg, otherwise known as the albumen, starts in the western part of the factory. Gelatin is a high source of protein and is an essential ingredient in albumen manufacture. The gelatin is extracted by knocking pork bellies against a metal funnel in a method known as artificial humping.
Pork bellies were found to yield the most gelatin, 15% more than pig's trotters, 32% more than chicken thigh and 19% more than chicken breast.
Back at the albumen station, the liquid gelatin is poured into a vat, followed by white powders. A gluing agent is added, commonly known as polyvinyl acetate or PVA glue. It is often found in nursery schools as it is rich in vitamins and so good for children. The mixture is heated to 50 degrees Kelvin and thoroughly mixed in this tumbler. This process takes up to 48 hours, allowing the albumen time to turn from white to invisible. The albumen is then stored in these cooling vats until ready to be mixed with the yolks. Yolk manufacture begins with a protein. As we all know, egg yolks contain only half the egg's protein, so here workers carefully slice the protein in half. The unsuitable half is discarded, while the other half is placed on a conveyor belt. The protein continues along the conveyor belts to a mixer where other ingredients can be added. This is sulfur. Salt is added to taste, followed by a mystery liquid ingredient. The blade is lowered and the mixer is turned on to min. The yolk is allowed to blend for approximately 63 minutes. When thoroughly homogeneous, the yolk looks like this. See how it's lost its sulfurous yellow-orange colouring? This, of course, is natural, as the colour becomes subdued during the beating process. The yolk is loaded onto a slide situated above the yolk divider. At the bottom of the machine, a small hole extrudes the yolk. Two mechanically controlled arms cut the yolk into round balls. The uncooked yolks now pass through a long oven, which heats them to bring back that yellow-orange colouring. A worker inspects the yolks. Halfway through the oven, recoloration is almost complete. The yolks are shriveled and somewhat flaccid due to dehydration, but they will return to their usual turgidity when they are introduced to the albumin. To combine the yolks and the albumin, two giant robots simultaneously pour both components into a glass trough. To achieve perfect harmony within the egg, buffiliation must take place. Here you can see a scientific demonstration of what happens inside the trough. The yolks and the albumin search to find their lifelong mate with whom they combine to form a single-cell organism. Here, an albumin man flirts with a yolk female. They perform a graceful mating ritual and now have formed to become one. See how the yolk females have become fattened and turgid. The egg cytoplasmic units are now ready to enter the eggshell. Back at the assembly point, the giant robot assembles the egg. A blowtorch is used to seal the two eggshells together. The heat also helps to inflate the egg cytoplasm and to fill the inside of the eggshell. The blowtorch passes over the cracked area for some 6 hours. Once the shell is sealed, the egg is complete and it is sent off for packaging.